Hi everyone and welcome to Moonstone Makes. My name is Tommi. You can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Dynamite Trujillo. Welcome to episode 114. Thank you so much for being here. If you are a new viewer, welcome. And if you're a returning viewer, a big welcome back. Today is a really chilly and cold and drizzly Friday in February here on the Northern California coast where I'm coming to you from. You can find show notes in the description box below. I will link to everything I talk about in today's episode. How are you doing? I hope February has been treating you well. I have a few announcements to get into before I start talking about what I have been making. The first are a couple of make-alongs that are ongoing. The first of those is the Fix It, Finish It, or Frog It make-along, where you can go through your UFOs, your unfinished objects, your long-standing whips, and either finish them or frog them, or if they need fixing, go back and fix your mistakes so that you can keep working on them, or if you have finished objects that need fixing or frogging, that counts too, and what you make from that frogged yarn also counts. So there's a couple ways to participate in this. On Instagram, we're using the hashtag FixFinFrog, MAL, and you can post progress photos or ideas or your finished objects or whatever you've got over on Instagram. I'd love to see everybody sharing over there. There's also in my Ravelry group, which is linked below, a couple of threads, one for chatter and one for finished objects. This make-along is going to be running through to the end of April, so you have that time to work on your things and get them finished or get them ripped out and move on with your life. So I'm very excited about this one. I have been participating a lot myself, and I'm very happy to see when people post about how motivated they are to get things out of their UFO bins and either put back in their stash, remade into something else, or just finished. So thank you for participating in that. It's been a lot of fun. Our next make-along is the Seasons make-along, and that is running through the whole year of 2021, but I am breaking it up into seasons. So right now, in the Northern Hemisphere, we're in winter, and in the Southern Hemisphere, I think you are in summer. So whatever season it is, wherever you are in the world, make something for that season, inspired by that season. If it goes somehow with the season you're in, however that works for you, then it counts. And there will be prizes drawn at the end of every season. And the Instagram hashtag for that is SeasonsMAL2020. And like with the previous make-along, there is a couple of threads in the Ravelry group, which will be linked below. So I would love to see you participating in that too. I've been having a lot of fun with that one as well. We do have a couple of prizes that have come in that I'm going to show you right now. Also, if you are a maker and you would like to donate a prize to either of these make-alongs, get in contact with me and that would be lovely. The first prize donation that I had arrive came all the way from Spain, from Nicole, who is of the Thyme Weaver YouTube channel. And she donated a couple of Progress Keepers sets, and they are absolutely lovely. And they're definitely my style. They're made out of stones. This one is jade and quartz, and then these ones are fluorite and moonstone and agate. So these will be prizes. For one of them, I'm not sure which yet, I haven't decided. But these will be given away when I do the prize drawings. And thank you so much, Nicole. I'm going to link to her shop in the show notes below. You can find her as Thyme Weaver on Instagram, I think, and on YouTube. Also, she has a shop where she sells these Progress Keepers and yarn at tintica.com, and I will link to that in the show notes as well. The next prize I have to show you is from Darn Good Yarn, which is a company in New York who is a yarn distributor. They contacted me, asked me if they could send me some of their products, and I said yes. So they sent me 3 things, and one of them I'm going to add to the prize pile for these make-alongs. One of them I'm keeping for myself, and one of them I'm giving to Lucy eventually. So Lucy's my 2.5-year-old daughter. So I'm gonna share that with you now. And just to say it at the beginning, they did offer a coupon code for my viewers that is good until the end of March. So there will be a link below that'll be like an affiliate link for this episode that you can click if you're interested in checking out their products. Go through there if you can. Or you can use the coupon code DynamiteTrujillo15 for 15% off until March 31st. So thank you, darn good yarn. The first thing that they sent me is what I am going to be using for a giveaway prize. So they have subscription boxes, and this one is like a mystery subscription box, and I'm going to show you what's in it. And that's what the prize will be. It's a Yarn of the Month Club. So what came in this box is this really beautiful handspun. This is bona fide handspun, spun by women in India, and it's a worsted weight silk handspun. And it's 50 grams, 75 yards. And you don't just get the yarn, you get like a whole kit and patterns. You get a crochet pattern and a knitting pattern that works for this 50 gram skein of yarn. And you get the knitting needles and the crochet hook that you would need for either project. And in the little booklet, it shows you, well, it talks about the hand spinning that was done to create this yarn. And it gives you the patterns. So for this one, it's a pattern for a cowl. And so there's a knitted version and a crocheted version, and you get the materials to make it, or you can just do whatever you want with this really beautiful silk handspun. So that is going to be another prize for one of the make-alongs. The next thing that they sent is the thing that I'm keeping for myself, so sorry, but I thought I'd show you anyway. It's Sock of the Month. So they have another club that's a Sock of the Month. It comes with sock yarn and a knitted sock pattern and a crocheted sock pattern. And the yarn that they sent me is this. And this is a self-striping sock yarn. And it's really cool. I'm very excited about it. It is the Alanya sock yarn in the Northern Lights colorway, and you get 2 30-gram cakes, which is perfect for me because 100 grams for socks typically is more than enough for me to make socks for myself. And this is what it knits up like, and there's a whole knitting pattern and a crochet pattern for socks in this little booklet. So that's very cool, and I'm very excited about using that. And then the other thing is something that I thought would be really nice for Lucy when she gets a little older. They have stuff like this on their shop too. It's not just yarn, but it's they sell fabric and kits like this and everything. So this is a little bead kit, and it just comes with a whole selection of plastic beads and metal beads and like the wires and like hardware and stuff you need for jewelry making. I don't know anything about jewelry making, but it comes with all the little like hooks and gadgets and posts and wires and stuff to make things, and a little booklet. I'm sure there's like instructions on how to do things in here too. So I'm pretty excited for this for her. I think she's really gonna like it. So thank you so much, Darn Good Yarn. And again, if you're interested in checking out their website, click the link below, use the coupon code DynamiteTrujillo15 for 15% off if you decide to get anything. They're a really cool company with a pretty neat mission statement. You can read about it on their website. They seem pretty dedicated to selling eco-friendly handmade products, paying living wages to the people who are making their products. So check it out if you're interested. I think it's really neat, and thanks again. So those are the prizes that I have so far. I am also going to be donating some of my own Moonstone Dyeworks yarn, which I'm the dyer behind, to the prize pool. And like I said, if you're interested in donating, hit me up. Okay, let's talk about what I'm wearing and my finished objects. So I am wearing my first finished object. It is the Oxbow cardigan by Andrea Mowry, and I knit this using Brooklyn Tweed Quarry, which is their bulky weight, very lightly plied. Some people call it like unplied. It's not unplied, but it's a very lightly plied, very floofy, bulky weight yarn, and it's in the granite colorway. And This was a pretty quick knit. I'm pretty happy with it. It was a bottom-up cardigan with a big shawl collar, and it's got an all-over texture pattern. And it's just a pretty straight up knit purl pattern. And it's done. Let me show you what it looks like. So here it is. It's a raglan. It was a bottom-up raglan. The raglan is very, very deep. I have a lot of extra room in this raglan shaping. I made the smallest size, but it is quite a bit deeper than I would typically choose to make. Here it is from the back. It's got a nice big shawl collar. It's nice and long, which I very much appreciate. And it's got a nice big collar, no fasteners. It's meant to be open. The sleeves come down right about to there, and they're nice and fitted. And yeah, it's pretty lovely. I'm pretty happy with it. The fit does feel a little like bulky, and like there's like I said, a lot of room down here and a little bit of bunching right here, but it's bulky weight yarn. It's a bulky weight sweater. I think that's just gonna happen. And as far as the extra fabric in the raglan shaping, I mean, I think that's just the style. It's supposed to be a little bit oversized. It's not typically my style, but you know, you pick your patterns and you follow them and you get how they're written. So I do feel a little overwhelmed in this sweater because it feels pretty, like I said, big and bulky on me and my frame up top in the like shoulder kind of area, and a little bit like tapered down as you get down to the bottom, but that's okay. You know, I felt the same with the sweater that I knit previously in this yarn. This is yarn that I had ripped out from another sweater that I knit that it felt very similar. It felt really bulky and like kind of football pad shouldery in the shoulders, and just kind of like not as substantial in the waist. So I kind of felt like an 80's triangle shape, you know what I mean? But I since this is the second sweater that's felt like this, I think it's probably just the nature of a bulky weight sweater. I think this is probably my first bulky weight sweater. No, it's my second one. The first one was the Ursa, which is a bulky weight pullover, a cropped pullover that I knit in DK weight held double. And that one also is too bulky for me. I think I need to learn my lesson and maybe take a break from knitting bulky weight sweaters for a little while. But overall, I am really happy with this. It's definitely like kind of a throw on at home, kind of cozy, comfy, slightly oversized sweater. Like, it's weird. It feels like it's a little oversized in the top, but it doesn't feel oversized in the bottom. So, you know, it's good. And it was a nice quick knit, and I got to reuse some yarn that I already had that I wasn't using in the project that I was in, because that other sweater that I had originally knit with this, I wasn't wearing. So we'll see how much I wear this one. Like I said, I'm mostly pretty happy with it. Yeah, it was knit on, I think, size 11 needles mostly, and then a 10.5 for the like collar and the ribbing and stuff like that. And so it went by pretty quick. The collar is really nice. It's got short row shaping in the back so that there is a lot of extra. The ribbing up behind the neck is much wider and thicker than it is as you get down. It's only about 2 inches down here, and it's way more up here. So that's kind of nice because it creates a nice folded over neckline that lays really nicely. Kind of, I see a little bulk. It would feel nice, I think, if there were pockets on this, which I could add, and I could have added, but I probably won't. I think I have a tiny bit of leftover yarn, but not very much. I think I mostly used all of the yarn I had, which I believe was about 5 100-gram skeins, I think. So that's my Oxbow pattern by Andrea Mowry. If you're into big, bulky, oversized shawl collar cardigans, I definitely recommend it. It was fun. It was a good knit. Okay, moving on to my next finished object. I finished my it's not Hiedra. I don't think it's Hiedra. I think it's like Hiedra. The Hiedra Headband by Fiber Tales, who is Lerka of the Fiber Tales podcast. And I knit this using Harrisville Designs Nightshades, which is a DK weight woolen spun Cormo yarn, non-superwash. And it's in the Insomnia colorway. And I really love this yarn. I knit a sweater with this, so these were my leftovers. And I finished this. This was a really, really cool headband pattern. It comes in 2 sizes, and the size refers to the width of it. So I did the skinnier one, but you can always also do one that's a little bit wider. And then the length is just pretty customizable. She gives you a suggested pattern repeat for a certain length, but if you need it longer, you just do more repeats. You cast on with like a regular cast on, and then at the end you bind off, you do some cool stuff that I'll talk about in a minute, and then you just attach the 2 ends together. And I did like a mattress stitch to do that. So it is a cabled pattern. So right down the middle, it's this like kind of V cable, and then over here, it's what she calls a braid. And that braid is really cool. It's made with dropped stitches and picked up drop stitches. So throughout the whole pattern, those 2 columns of the braid, you're just knitting and purling. You're making a stockinette band. And then all of the braiding takes place at the end. When you're done, you drop down a bunch of stitches and then do some stuff. And it's really cool, and it makes for a really pretty pattern. It is a little small for me. The pattern calls for a worsted weight yarn, but I figured this DK weight would be pretty good because the yarn that she used in her sample comes up as a DK on Ravelry, so I thought it'd be kind of interchangeable. But I do think it made it a little small, and I have a pretty small head. I think my head is like 21 inches. I just measured it the other day. So I don't know exactly if I'll be wearing it, but it fits my daughter pretty good, and she has a 19-inch head. So let's try it on. Okay, so here it is on, and I think the reason I've been wanting to make a headband for a pretty long time now, for those days that I go out on a walk and I'm wearing my hair like up in a bun or a ponytail, which I kind of do pretty often. I either wear my hair usually like this in a side braid or in pigtails or like up somehow. And whenever I wear it up, I can't wear a hat or a beanie. So I've been wanting to make a headband to have some kind of ear covering because my ears get really cold. So I've never had or worn a headband before, and I wasn't sure if I would like the style. So I thought I'd give it a shot. I don't love the style. I have earmuffs, which is what I normally wear. They're just like store-bought earmuffs. So I was trying to go something more of a knitwear route, but I don't know if I love it on me. It feels a little snug, which I definitely could have made it like 1 repeat longer. But it also, I don't know, it also kind of messes up my hair. And I'm just not sure if I love the headband thing in general. So it was a try, but it does fit Lucy pretty dang good. And I think she likes it. So I think it might become hers. And so that's it. That's my headband. It was a beautiful pattern. It was really nicely written and easy to follow and understand. I did mention this in my last episode that I talked about this, where I wasn't getting the hang. It's a really simple like 4-row repeat, and you just work back and forth, back and forth. It's so easy, but there's 1 cable row, and I couldn't memorize it, and it was just bugging me because every time I got to that row, I like had to like really look and see what I was doing, and I kept messing up. So somebody in the comments recommended just rewriting it in my own words, and that usually helps. And that does always help me whenever, because that happens to me with some patterns. Some patterns just are written in a way to where they don't intuitively click and stay in my mind. You know what I mean? They don't become muscle memory. And I typically do rewrite them, but I was being lazy with this one, and I didn't do it until that person said that I should. So thank you, if that was you. I finally did it about halfway through this pattern, and it went so much easier. And it was just a matter of like, it wasn't even rewording really. It was just like kind of laying it out on a piece of paper like a little differently so that I could just glance at it and see what I was supposed to do. But anyway, so that was very helpful. I did do that, and it went by really quick after that. So I'm very happy with this finished object. Again, it's the Hiedra Headband by Fiber Tales. And it didn't take that much yarn at all. Like, I didn't even use all my leftovers. Okay. Okay, see, headbands. I have another finished object. It's a lot of finished objects. So my next finished object is actually a set of 2 different patterns. You haven't even seen it as a whip yet. I started it since the last podcast 2 weeks ago, and I finished it pretty quickly, and it's a hat and mitten set for Lucy. So this is the set. And she was in desperate need of a new set of hat and mittens, so I'm very happy to have made this. The mittens are the World's Simplest Mittens by Tin Can Knits. And it's the same exact pattern that I used for her last pair of mittens. I just went up a size. These are the kid size, which I think is the second to smallest size. And prior to this, I had made her the toddler size, which she has since grown out of. So the World's Simplest Mittens is by Tin Can Knits. It's a free pattern. And it's a really simple, really all-encompassing, really amazing pattern for just plain ass mittens. It gives you the pattern and the numbers for a few different sizes. I know it starts at toddler and goes up from there. I don't know how big it goes. Tin Can Knits usually go pretty big in their sizes, so it's probably a pretty good range of sizes. It goes up to adult anyway. And it also gives you the numbers for all different gauges. So you can make this pattern using fingering weight yarn or DK worsted. I don't know how far it goes up, but there's a few different yarn weights that it gives you numbers for. This is a worsted weight yarn. This is Shepherd's Wool by Stonehenge Fiber Mill. And it's a worsted spun fine wool in the pansy colorway. So this is a non-superwash wool, worsted spun, and it's spun at a domestic mill in, where are they? Michigan. It's in Michigan. I love this yarn. I knit a sweater with this yarn a very long time ago. I think it was the Seacoast Pullover by Joji Locatelli. It was beautiful. I no longer have it. But it was a really beautiful sweater. It was a Brooklyn tweed pattern. And this was my leftovers that I've had for a very long time. Actually, it was a full skein. Yeah, I had one full skein left over from that project that I didn't even break into. So one full skein got me the kid-sized mittens, this hat, which I'll talk about in a minute, and a little bit of leftover yarn. I actually thought I was going to run out. I thought I was going to have to use a contrast color to finish the hat, but I didn't. But anyway, these mittens are wonderful. They're so quick. One of them, of course, came out a teeny bit longer than the other one, as is my style when I make Lucy mittens. Happens every single time. I always do one of them like one round longer than the other one. Whatever. I don't care. She doesn't care. We're good. So these fit her really great. She requested, I asked her what she would like with mittens and a hat, and her one request was that they be purple. So luckily I had a full skein of purple worsted weight yarn to use. It was perfect. So the hat that I made is another free pattern. This is by Purl Soho, and it is the Classic Cuffed Hat. It's the Classic Cuffed Hat by Purl Soho. It's free on their website, and you can find it through Ravelry too. And it's just a worsted weight, bottom-up beanie. It's really simple. It has a pretty long cuff because it is meant to be cuffed up, like this. And it's a 1x1 ribbing at the bottom. The pattern wants you to do a tubular cast on. I did not do that though, because I did not feel like it. And 1x1 ribbing for like 4.5 inches or something like that. I don't remember, I could be lying. And then just stockinette. And then some pretty simple decreases at the top and a pom-pom. So I made this pom-pom using my loom, which I'm gonna go show you right now. I'll be right back. So this is a loom. This is a little wooden device that I purchased a pretty long time ago, like off their website or something. I don't know. I'll link to it. But it's a pom-pom and tassel maker, and I think it does other like fun stuff too. I've hardly ever used it. But I used it to make this pom-pom, and I am super bad at making pom-poms. This is a very messy pom-pom, and I don't really care. You know, you like make the pom-pom and then you go through and you trim it and you're supposed to make it all nice, and I never know exactly like how much yarn to use when I'm wrapping, so I just kind of like think it looks okay, I guess, and see where it goes. I think it could have used a little more yarn to get it a little more dense, and also I'm just real bad at trimming. That's but who cares? She doesn't care. No one cares. It's a pom-pom. She loves it. It fits her really, really nicely. Up until now, she had been wearing one of my beanies that she had taken from me. So now I can take that back. This hat fits her really, really nicely. It's nice and slouchy. I did the, what size did I do? I think I did the kid size. There's like baby and then kid, I think. And I think I did that second like kid size. So yeah, I think it's 3 sizes. I think they do baby, kid, and adult maybe for this one. And I think I did the middle kid one. But it fits her really good, like really, really good. It's nice and long. You can cuff it up. It stays on. It's a little slouchy in the back. She loves the pom-pom, like a whole lot. So I'm very, very happy with this set. Now this is a non-superwash worsted spun yarn. So I'll have to be careful with washing, but that's not a big deal, especially with accessories for Lucy. I'm really not concerned about washing too much and felting and stuff like that, for one, because she's going to grow out of them fairly quickly. They're not going to be around forever, you know? And also, like, I hardly ever wash her mittens anyway. They don't get that dirty. She usually just walks around in them. She doesn't play in them or anything. And I did only attach the pom-pom with a tie. So this is just like a regular bow. And that's how I attached it, so that if I do want to wash it, I can easily take it off and then put it back on after washing. I've never washed a pom-pom before, but I have mentioned it on the podcast, like, how do you wash a pom-pom? And I've had comments saying, don't wash your pom-poms. You will ruin them, so I'm not going to chance it. And if I ever have to wash this hat, which I'm sure it will, I'll just take the pom-pom off. Easy peasy. Those are all my finished objects. That was pretty good. I do say so myself. I was pretty happy with all my finished objects. I do have a few works in progress, one of which is a new cast on that I'm very excited about. So I'll start with that one. So my first work in progress is the, I'm gonna have to read this one because I don't know. It's the Bois-de-Coulonge Hat by Jean-Philippe Cliche. That is French. So I hope I did okay, but this is it. And this is a beanie pattern, and I'm knitting it out of Moonstone Dyeworks, which is my hand-dyed yarn, in my new colorway. It's one of the newest colorways that I have, and I will be offering it in the shop update tomorrow, which I'll talk about in a little bit. This is the Winter Mute colorway. And Winter Mute is in reference to the William Gibson Neuromancer trilogy. Winter Mute was the AI in that trilogy, and I've always loved the name Winter Mute, so that's this colorway. It is a tonal navy blue, and it's got really subtle like mint green speckles and like kind of magenta maroony speckles, but really vague. Like, they're pretty sparse. So it is my merino sock base, which is fingering weight merino nylon yarn, and then my mohair silk lace base, which is lace weight mohair silk. And that's what it looks like so far. So I saw this hat pattern on a pretty new podcast that I am in love with, and if you haven't checked it out yet, I hope you do. Good chance though that you have checked it out, because they're on their 2nd episode and they have like 1 million views. So you've probably already seen it, but if you haven't, check it out. It's Happy Hour with Les Garçons, which is with Max the Knitter and Vincent, who is designed by Dells. And I just love them both. They make really, really fun episodes to watch. And in their first episode, Max the Knitter made a couple of these hats and I really liked it, so I decided I wanted to make it. So it is mostly 1x1 ribbing, and you have these cable slip stitches running all throughout it, which create like just a couple little V's up the whole hat on the front and the back or the sides or whatever. And it's just a really simple detail that I think looks really good, and it's got a nice long cuff, and it's knit using these two yarns, not only held together, but held together double. So you're doing 4 strands of yarn. You're doing 2 strands of fingering weight held with 2 strands of mohair, lace, all held together. So it essentially, according to them, equals like a worsted weight gauge. So that's kind of what it all looks like together. And what I've done is, it just calls for 1 skein of each yarn. So I've caked up each yarn and I'm just knitting from the inside and the outside of each cake. And that sounds like it could go wrong and it could get very messy, but it hasn't. So far when I'm knitting with it, I just make sure both cakes are center pull facing up. I have them both sitting in my project bag and I just pull straight up, and it's been fine so far. No tangles or anything, and I'm very happy with how it's working out. So yeah, it's a really nice, easy, simple to follow pattern. It is charted, which I personally really prefer, and so far it's really simple. The cables are like almost like non-cables. They're the kinds of cables where it's just like 1 stitch that you're switching around, and I don't even know if people call that a cable, like a real cable, I don't know. But it's a really, really simple cable to do, and then you're also slipping those stitches, and it's just a really nice pattern. I've just barely started on that cable slip stitch pattern. So that's where we are. It's working out pretty quickly because the holding like a million strands of yarn all together is really nice and makes it go by really fast. I'm knitting this on a size US 7, which is what the pattern calls for, and these are my high sharp interchangeable needles, which I love. And this finished object is not going to be for me. I am going to use this as my first quarter 2021 Patreon giveaway prize. So if you're not aware, I do have a Patreon account. Well, I have a Patreon. I guess it's just that I have a Patreon. I've linked to it below if you're interested in checking it out. And depending on what level of support you're signed up for, you can get certain benefits, including some levels have yarn that gets shipped to you every month. And every level, no matter how much you contribute, whether it's via Patreon or via Ko-Fi, if you've contributed anything at all to the podcast within a quarter, so right now we're in the first quarter and it'll end at the end of March, you get entered into a prize drawing. And for this quarter, the prize drawing is going to be for this hat. So I'm making this for you, whoever the winner might be. And as with most things that I make for those giveaways, if I have any yarn left over, you'll also be getting the leftover yarn that I'll reskein and wash and make it all pretty. So yeah, this is for you. And I'm really, really enjoying working on it. So I hope you like it too, if you win it. Okay, so that's that project. And thank you to my Patreon subscribers. I appreciate you endlessly. I appreciate everybody endlessly. Whoever watches, thank you. But I guess a special thank you to my Patreon supporters. It's amazing. I'm super grateful, and I love making you things. So my next work in progress is the Stash Dive scarf. I started this just before my last episode, so this was a work in progress last time. It is living in my Katie Did Bags bag with the space print all over it. And this is massive, and it's hardly even fitting in this anymore. But this is a design, it's a free pattern on Ravelry designed by Summer Lee, and it's a scarf that calls for 2 strands of yarn held together, one a worsted weight and the other one a fingering weight. It's meant to use up your scraps, and I'm enjoying it so much so far. So you just knit a long tube and you change colors as you go. And at the end of the tube, once it's about 6 feet long, you close it up. So you graft each end together on its own instead of together so that it makes a scarf. And that is it. The pattern, it's a free pattern, like I said. There's also a tutorial that you can find through the pattern. And so she goes through all of this, but there's a lot of really great tips in this pattern on how to do everything. So for the color changes, she has you use, like I said, a worsted weight and a fingering weight yarn held together. And for every stripe, she recommends you knit for 10 rounds, and then you change both yarns every time. And you use a size US 10 needle, and I'm using my Licka interchangeable short tips. She also, in her tutorial, in her YouTube tutorial for this pattern, she introduces a way to weave in your ends as you go, something that I've never done before and I'm in love with. Like, I'm really in love with. I am really into the idea of learning new ways to incorporate yarn changes into a pattern as you're knitting it. So my favorite way to introduce a new like ball of yarn is to spit splice. That only works for certain things though. So I'm also really into the idea, something I learned from Stephen West, where when you switch yarns, you just hold both of them together for a few stitches and then let them go. And then at the end, you're still weaving them in. It's just kind of extra security. But this, I think, is going to replace that for me. I love this method, and I'm sure it's not new. I'm sure other people already know about it, but I've never thought of it before. She includes it in the pattern, and I'm going to tell you what it is, because like I said, it's a free pattern, and she has it on her tutorial, and it's freaking genius. So what you do when you come to the end of a color repeat, like 6 stitches before you're about to switch yarns, you get out your new yarn and you lay it over your current stitch in the back. And then you hold them as if you're going to do color work. And you continue knitting with your working yarn, and you have your new yarn you're about to introduce in your other hand. Oh my goodness, I'm tangled. And you knit with your old yarn, and then you act as if you're carrying floats with your new yarn. That's it. And so you do that all the way to your marker, wherever you're going to switch yarns, and then you switch. So you make your new yarn, your working yarn, and your old yarn you put in your other hand to catch those in your floats for a little while, like 6 stitches, I think. And then you drop it and you cut it, and that's it. And I'm like super impressed with that, and I'm really excited to know it now. And I've been using that through this whole scarf. So I have been doing that and then just like cutting off my ends with hardly any tail, because I'm just gonna leave them like that. That's it, I'm not gonna do anything else. And I'm stoked. I'm gonna use this forever. I mean, we'll see how it goes. You know, I haven't like actually like tried it out practically yet in wear or anything, but it seems pretty secure and pretty awesome, and I'm super in love with it. So if what I said wasn't clear and you just want to see a tutorial on it, her pattern or her YouTube video for this pattern is a really good just tutorial, even on just that technique in general. So check that out if you're interested. And I highly recommend this pattern. I'm loving it. It's so much fun. So those are the cool things about it. Now I'm just going to show you the scarf itself. I think I'm more than halfway done with it. I think, going to go to the 6 feet. And so I've just been using a bunch of scraps. I have lots of worsted and lots of fingering weight scraps to work with. And I've been trying to kind of like choose my colors as I go to make sure they kind of like go with what's next to it and stuff like that, but that's kind of my overall color palette, very random. I'm definitely starting to get more neutral up here with lots of blacks and grays and browns, and this bag is just full of yarn that you cannot see, but still, it's just full of stuff. Most of my worsted weight is like a non-superwash stuff left over from sweaters and things like that. And then most of my fingering weight, I would say is like half and half, like half like non-superwash leftover like sweatery kind of stuff and half like sock yarn. So I also have a lot of hand spun in here, my hand spun, and man, I'm just loving it. It's so much fun to work on. It's seriously so much fun. This is like my new sock. This is like my new vanilla sock. Like all I want to do is work on this. And I love it. I love it. Who knows? I might make a couple more. I mean, that's probably not. I probably won't do that. But in my mind right now, it sounds fun to just work on this forever and never do anything else ever again. I love it. So I highly recommend this pattern. It's the Stash Dive Scarf by Summer Lee. It's just fun. It's just really simple and really fun. I'm also going to add tassels, I think, at the end. That's my plan, is to add tassels, which the pattern doesn't call for, but that's okay. I've got my leftover nightshades in here too that I just added. So this is what I had left over from my headband. So that's a lot of yarn. And I have been doing a lot of DK. So I have not only worsted and fingering, but I have worsted, DK, sport, and fingering in this bag. And I'm just kind of combining them appropriately to get like a right thickness, you know what I mean? So I'll put like a sport weight with a DK and a fingering weight with the worsted and blah, blah. So I love it. I'm in love with this thing so hard. My last work in progress is the Eliza Sweater, which is a brioche kid pullover pattern by Maria Monska, and I am knitting this for Lucy, my daughter, and this is it. So it's almost done, and it's just missing one sleeve. So this is an all over brioche pattern. It calls for either holding fingering weight yarn double or using DK weight yarn. I am holding fingering weight double, and not only that, I am marling and striping. So I found two full skeins of yarn and 2 leftover partial skeins of fingering weight yarn in my stash. And that's what I'm using. I'm marling them together and striping them, like I said. So this one, which is kind of my main color throughout, this is Malabrigo Sock in the something colorway. It's in the, I don't know what colorway it is. But it'll be in my project page, which I will link to. So it's Malabrigo Sock though, and I really, really like it. It's lots of purples and greens and like magentas. It's a really deep, rich colorway. This is Junebug Fibers. And this is in the Amethyst Hour colorway, and it's like a merino silk. This is Handmaiden Fine Yarn. And this is like, I think like a cashmere silk merino blend. Again, I don't know the colorway offhand, but it'll be in my project page. This is Madeline Tosh, and it's the Tosh Mo Light, which is a single ply merino and mohair blend. I believe it's the high-low colorway, but I could be wrong. These are leftovers from ages ago. So that's what I have left. And so the sweater is a top-down sweater, and it's all brioche except for the ribbing, which is just a 1x1 rib. And I've just been kind of switching yarns kind of in a pattern. I've kind of been doing like this combination of yarns, then the dark one, then the medium one, then the light one, then the medium one. The medium one is kind of like supposed to be in between all the stripes. And here's the sleeve. And I think I'm gonna have plenty of yarn to do the second sleeve and the neckband, which I also still have to pick up and knit. I love brioche. I've never done this much brioche in one pattern before, and I'm getting kind of sick of it. I love knitting brioche, and I have been really enjoying this pattern, and it's just been like up until like maybe the second half of the sleeve where I'm starting to feel like, okay, I'm over it. Let's move on. So I'm almost done, and I'm happy I'm almost done. I just have this one sleeve to go, and it's a little sleeve. Look how little tiny it is. It's teeny tiny sleeve. So I just have the other one to go. And then the button band will be easy because that's probably just gonna be 1x1 rib, I think. And it's a great pattern. This is a baby and a kid size pattern. So I'm knitting Lucy, I think it's the 2-year-old size or something like that. It's the second size up. So there's like a 1 to 2 year and then I think like a 2 to 3 year, and I'm knitting that second size. And I have tried it on her and everything looks pretty good. It's definitely a little oversized, and she's 2.5, but she's a tall, skinny 2.5. But it definitely looks big, and I have a feeling it's gonna grow too because this is all, I think it's mostly superwash yarn, and it's all sock yarn, and it's brioche, so I'm pretty sure it's gonna grow a little bit. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a little big on her right now, but I'm fine with that. That's totally okay. She can wear a pullover that's too big and then grow into it. It's gonna be great. And this is perfect for her too, because she loves purple. She like wants everything in purple. So yeah, I think she's really gonna like it. And if she doesn't, who cares? It's fine. She's a toddler. She can dislike stuff. But yeah, it's been a really great knit so far, and I'm glad I'm almost done with it. And when I am done with it, I plan, so hopefully I get done with it really soon so I can start incorporating some of these yarns into my stash type scarf. I would really love to have some of these colors in that scarf. And I know I'm gonna have a lot left over, so whatever doesn't go in there, I'm thinking I will put into my Granny Stripe crochet blanket, which is still in a long-term state of unfinished business, you know what I mean? So I think it'll look really good in there too. Okay, that is it for what I'm making. I made a lot of stuff. I feel like it's been a lot, and it's been really fun working on all these projects. I have really, really been enjoying it. Next, I am going to talk about some shop update stuff. So I am the dyer behind Moonstone Dyeworks, which you can find at moonstonedyeworks.com, and I will link to that in the description box below. I'm gonna have a shop update tomorrow, which is Saturday, February 27th at 9 a.m. Pacific time. I do have a newsletter. If you're interested in signing up for that, you can do so on my website, and there you will get an email just every time I do an update. And the first time that you sign up for it, you get a welcome email with a coupon code as well, so check that out if you're interested. I've dyed a couple of new colorways for the shop, and I'm going to show you those now. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to show you is what you've already seen in my hat. I have Wintermute that's going to be available. And I've got this available on Merino Sock, Merino Sport, and the Mohair Silk Lace. And I'm really happy with how this colorway came out. It's mostly a navy tonal, but if you can see here, it's got some specks of maroon. There are also some really subtle mint speckles throughout here, and I just love it. I really like it. And then next I've got another new colorway that I'm calling Mars Dust because, you know me, I love space, and I'm actually getting really, really into space exploration subjectry right now in my reading and stuff like that. So this one is called Mars Dust, based on our planetary superstar that everybody loves, Mars. So this is like a peachy gold speckle, and this is it on Merino Fingering, which is a merino nylon sock weight yarn, and this is it on Merino Aran. So this is 100% superwash merino Aran weight. And then I've got a new colorway that was, I have a couple more colorways that were both just one of a kind. So this is the only update that you will see these colorways because they cannot be repeated. This one is Sea Dragon, and this is like kind of a cool green, and it also has lots of like neutral tones running throughout it. It's a tonal. And this is Merino Aran. This is it on Merino Single, which is 100% superwash merino single ply. And my next one, and this is only going to be available on this base, this is my non-superwash fingering base. It's 100% non-superwash merino, and this is Golden Girl. This is another one of a kind, And this is kind of a peachy golden. So this is Golden Girl. And that's it. That's what's going to be up in the shop. There are also a couple of other things that are just still available in the shop. So you'll see a few more things other than these colorways if you're interested. And if you see something you want that I don't offer in the base or the quantity that you want, just send me a message and I'm happy to do custom orders. So that is it. I hope to see you at the shop update tomorrow at 9 o'clock if you are interested. Again, it's at moonstonedyeworks.com and it's at 9 a.m. on Saturday, February 27th. But if you come late and what you want is gone, like I said, just message me and I'm happy to do custom orders. Okay, that is it. I am going to leave you there. I have been lacking on my favorites section for a little while, I think. But I have been making so much that my episodes have been so full that I didn't want to extend them out too long with just random talk. So I'm kind of considering doing another standalone like vlog where it's just kind of like a favorite segment on its own. That way, if you're interested, you can watch, and if not, that's okay. Probably, I don't know, there's a lot of stuff that I'm kind of really excited about right now that is non-fiber and non-knitting related. So like books and just other random topics, other hobbies and stuff. So I might, you might see that coming up pretty soon in the next week or so on my channel. So I will leave you there. Thank you so much for watching and for hanging out with me while I talk about my making. If you want to talk about your making, I would love to hear about it. Comment down below and tell me what you've been working on. Or start your own podcast. Or if you have one, tell me. Podcasts are really, really fun to do, by the way. Knitting YouTube channels are pretty simple. Like, they can be really simple. It's not that hard to get started if you're willing to just work with what you have. And, you know, it doesn't have to take a lot of initial investment. Just saying. If you want to do it, you should probably just try and do it. Anyway, that was a tangent. Yeah, I hope you're well. Thank you for being here. And if you liked the episode, I would love it if you gave it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And if you're interested in checking out my Patreon page, that would be great too. If you want to win that hat, you know, go for it. Or not, it's okay. It's okay too. Okay. Have a great rest of your February. Have a great March. Join in on the make-alongs if you would like, and I will see you next time. Have fun and stay awesome. Bye.